Hi, it's Josie, and today I'd like to share with you how I teach a horse to move his shoulders. Personally, I found this one of the most difficult things to teach a horse. I struggled with it, and I've also found that a lot of horses actually have problems. They get moving the hindquarters not too bad, but moving the front end becomes a little bit difficult for them. Don't forget, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up and tell me in the comments if your horse has problems moving his shoulders. To start with, always think about setting your horse up for success. So I've got a fence line on that side of Rebel, because when I start to give him an aid in a little bit, he's going to be looking for answers. So like, he's going to be trying to find out what to do to get the pressure to stop. So I've taken one option, an incorrect option, away from him, and that just helps him. And it will also help you if you're just learning how to do these. When I'm teaching a really green horse from the ground, I will use a whip, and I'll either use a short one with a flapper, which works quite well on a young horse, or I'll use my dressage whip. What I want you to do is think about what you want to happen. What you want to happen is the shoulders to go that way. So in the very beginning, it doesn't matter if his head goes up and his shoulders go that way, if he steps forward and his shoulders go that way, if he steps back and his shoulders go that way. Doesn't matter whether the foot goes in front or behind. We teach our horse one thing at a time. And in the very beginning, all I care about is that his shoulders go that way. So I'm not even going to watch his head or anything. I will watch the feet, but in this particular exercise, I'll feel for when the shoulder is going to make a move that way. To help the horse a little bit, I will be tipping his head this way, because that already opens up a bit of an opportunity for the shoulders to fall out. And although when we're riding them, we don't want the shoulders to fall out, when I'm teaching him this, anything that can help him get what I'm trying to teach him helps me as well as helps him. So a little bit of nose this way. If he's going to back up too much, back them into the corner, so that then you're taking two options away and he really only has the correct option. So his nose a little bit this way. I hold my reins. You can do this in a halter, by the way. It doesn't have to be with a bridle. And in the very beginning, I teach the green horse with a halter. But if you come in a little and have a look, I hold my rein right by the bit as if I was sitting on his back. Okay, so my little finger is closest to the bit, and the rein goes between little finger and ring finger and my thumb over top. And that's because I use this motion a lot to indicate to the horse what I want him to do. So I'll bring his nose a little this way. Doesn't need to be a lot. Good boy. And I'm going to, you're probably not going to see this, but I'm going to put some pressure on his shoulder with a tap, tap, tap of the whip. I'll give you another angle in a minute. So I want his shoulder, and the minute his shoulder goes, whoop, that way, I released. Okay, he's a bit slow. I could see that he was going to do it though. Good boy. So this way, whip, tap. I don't care about the hindquarter. Yep. Now that was awesome to show you. The hindquarters went first, but I still kept tapping. And the minute the shoulders went, I didn't care that his hindquarters were over there. I released the pressure. That's how the horse learns. So if he's coming forward or going backwards or doing something you don't want to do, once you've started with the pressure, keep the pressure on whatever it is, and at this moment it's a tapping of the whip, until he does what you want him to do. That's the hardest bit, I think, for people to understand. He starts to go backwards and they stop, and then they bring them up and they start again. Well, you've just released the pressure when he went backwards, so you're inadvertently teaching him to go backwards. At the end of the day though, just as a caveat here, if things are going really pear-shaped, just stop what you're doing and start again. There is nothing wrong with doing that. It's a little bit windy now, so I hope you can hear me. Once your horse has got turning his shoulders from the ground, it's time to hop on his back and do it. And the same principles start again. You try and set him up so that you block one way for him to give you an answer that is an incorrect answer. So because I want his shoulders to go that way, I'll pop the fence line on this side. Now I want to tell you, it may not look it today, but this can be quite ugly before it actually turns into something functional. So don't panic if your horse doesn't look perfect, because I've yet to find a horse that does this perfectly in the beginning, trust me. There's also another issue with this particular exercise that I've found, and that is that horses can have a tendency to rear if you block them in the front. Okay, so it's not blocking the horse when you're using the reins. The opening rein to tell him which way I want him to go, which will be that way, is, if you come in and have a look here, is squeezing the sponge. So it's come, 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 come. And it's not backwards either, it's an open rein. Make sure you're not pulling backwards. I turn the horse's head away from where I want him to go with his shoulders in the beginning, because that allows the energy to sort of escape that way, and it sort of sets them up to do a fall out through the shoulder. But that, all I want him to learn is to actually turn off of the outside rein. He's turned that way. I'm going to tap. I use a flapper on the shoulder because it actually has makes a bit of a noise more than anything, and I teach my young horses to turn the shoulder off a tap, and then I go on to actually teach them to turn off the outside rein, because the whip will end up being on the circle in my outside hand. So I'll turn his head away to allow him to fall through the shoulder. I open the right rein, I'll squeeze and indicate, and I will tap on the shoulder until he comes, and then I will release. That was enough to start with. Again, open, tap, tap, tap. Good boy. So let's do that again. I'll just turn him around. Open with an indicating finger, tipping his nose this way, and whoops, he's already doing it for me. Making sure you are centered in the saddle, not falling to the left or falling to the right. And that's sometimes actually quite difficult, particularly if your horse won't move. I also tend to use my thigh on the shoulder I want to move away from it, because under saddle you start to turn them with your thighs as well. So when you're riding your young horse and you're trying to do a half a circle, or he's falling out, I'll see if I'll make Rebel fall out a little bit. So he's falling out now. I will tap him with on the whip on the shoulder and ask him to bring the shoulders over. It's that easy. It happens fast if you're doing a faster gait. So if you're actually trotting or cantering on a young green horse, come back, slow down. And in the end, honestly, if I can't teach the horse, if I can't get him to do what I want him to do from the saddle, I will get off and go back to the groundwork exercise on the spot. I'll see if I can actually show you what I'll do. Come on. So if he started falling out here, I would slow down, and even to a stop, and ask him to move over and then go on. If he didn't get it, I would get off and use my whip on his shoulder and say, no, mate, I'm trying to get you to move the shoulder over. You have to take the time it takes to teach the particular horse to do it. Once you've got them moving the shoulder, that's part of shoulder in, obviously, because you need to move the shoulder in. It's part of walk pirouettes, it's part of canter pirouettes. So it's quite an important tool to have and to teach, and an aid to teach the horse. And it also teaches your horse exactly what the outside rein is. So the outside rein actually turns my horse. If you like this video, give me a little thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, down in the bottom right hand corner. And let me know in the comments if your horse can move his shoulders easily or if he finds it difficult. And I'll see you soon.